Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I am doing a review on the Maybelline Superstay Full Coverage Foundation. I am using the color 310 Sun Beige. This foundation, from what I've seen, has been released previously. It was removed from the market and they brought it back recently. It is now currently available at Walgreens and it retails for $11.99 full retail price. However, if you do go to Walgreens, they usually have a $1 off coupon for Maybelline products, and that's what I use to purchase this foundation. I purchased the shade at 310, which is a pretty good match. I originally purchased the shade above, which was golden, but it was way too orange for my current skin color. I think that in the summer or as the seasons change, I might be able to transition on to the golden shade. But for now, I am using this. I think it's a pretty good match. It is a little bit more on the beige side, and I wish it was a little bit more on the yellow slash olive undertones. When I do mix this in with the Fenty Rihanna in shade 310, it gives almost a perfect match. So I have been using this foundation for about a week now. I have pretty concise thoughts about what I think about this foundation. However, I did want to come on here and give you guys my thoughts and reviews. I put this foundation on, half of it with the brush and the other half with a sponge. I have not tried it out with a sponge, so I'm pretty excited to find out how it will look at the end of the day, if they both look the same. This foundation claims to be full coverage. It claims to have up to 24-hour wear. It seems to be a seamless matte finish, breathable and comfortable, fade and transfer resistant, oil free, doesn't clog pores, dermatologist tested. So I already applied the foundation, and from what I can tell so far is that this is a full coverage foundation. Yes, I 100% agree that this is a full coverage foundation. So the other claim is that it has up to 24-hour wear. Now, I have not worn this foundation for 24 hours, nor will I wear this foundation for 24 hours. However, the times that I've worn this foundation, it has lasted quite a long time. I have not worn this foundation for more than 8 hours, but today I plan to wear this foundation until I go to bed. I applied this foundation around 9 o'clock in the morning. It is currently noon, so we shall see how it looks at the end of the day. I will be taking this foundation off probably around 9 o'clock, so that would be a 12-hour wear, and I will let you know how it looks by that time. The next, seamless matte finish. This foundation is completely matte. If you're not a fan of matte foundations, this is not for you. But if you do like matte foundations, you might want to give this a try for $11.99. I think it's a good price, and it does have a pump, which is amazing, which gives you control of how much product you want to dispense, and it also gives you control if you want to mix in with other foundations. This will give you the control that you need, and it is very matte. I have on highlights, so that's why it looks a little bit dewy around the forehead and right there, but on the places where I don't have highlights, so this area here, it's matte. I do set my foundation regardless if it's matte or dewy. I like to set my foundations. It's just a routine that I've always done, unless I'm doing like some sort of test where it's like, well, let me see how it'll wear without foundation. I will always set it. But yes, this foundation is matte as it can be. So this also claims to be fade and transfer resistant. We shall see how fade resistant it is at the end of the day, if it has worn off or it does wear off. My foundation tends to fade or break up around the nose area, around the mouth and chin, and sometimes even a little bit on the forehead. It just seems to break up. I don't know if by fade resistant it means break up resistant. I'm not 100% sure. I think by fade resistant they mean that it won't just disappear. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know. I don't know what they mean by that, but I can tell you if it breaks up or not, and also if the colors that have been on my face right now, if they still look the same at the end of the day. So the next thing is that it is oil free and it doesn't clog pores and dermatologist tested. I have been using this foundation for about a week, like I said, and I don't feel that I have broken out in any areas on my face. I have already had these breakups here and a couple ones on this side, but it was not caused by this. This foundation comes in 16 shades, the lightest being fair porcelain and the darkest being truffle. Again, I'm in the shade sun beige. The next one up is golden and the next one down is natural beige. So I think 16 shades is pretty standard for a drugstore foundation. I like that it does come in pretty light shades and also pretty deep shades. So I think no matter what your skin tone, you will find something that'll match your skin color. However, the tones seem to be more on the neutral side for all of them. Just going off the swatches, going off the little round descriptions that come up in the Maybelline website. I'm not sure. I haven't seen them swatch and I have not tested all of the colors in the foundation, nor do I intend to, but just going off of that, it seems like they all look just a little bit on the neutral side. So if you're interested in seeing how I applied this foundation and how it looks at the end of the day, please keep on watching. Thank you. So the key to pulling off a matte foundation is to moisturize and prep your skin. Prepping your skin is the basic for any foundation, regardless of the finish. For a matte foundation like the Maybelline Superstay, I recommend that you have a very well moisturized face, as well as a either moisturizing primer or a primer that's not going to be extremely mattifying. Since we're already going in with a matte foundation, we don't want to get that cakey look. So I already prep my skin. I moisturized with my daily moisturizer. I also went in with my NYX Angel Veil primer. This is the primer that I reach to mostly on a day-to-day basis. I wouldn't say it's my favorite primer of all time because I haven't tried that many primers, and this is just one I reach for the most. And I also went in with my MAC Fix Plus. This is very hydrating and it gives a nice dewy look to the skin without adding too much layers. It's just nice and refreshing and very dewy, and the glycerin makes it just a tiny little bit sticky. A good trick that I learned from Rosita Applebaum, she has a beauty channel, I will link it down below, is that once you go in and after you've prepped your skin, you can go in with your fingertips, and if it feels nice and bouncy, that's a good indication that your skin is nice and hydrated and ready to go. So I'm going to do half of my face with a brush and half of a face with a sponge. If you've seen any of my foundation reviews, you know that's the way that I like to do my reviews, and I have already used this foundation, so I have a pretty good idea of what I think about this foundation. However, I have not used it with a sponge. I am pretty excited to see how it'll work out with a sponge. So I'm going to start off with the left side, and that'll be my brush side. I am going to use the e.l.f. powder brush to do my foundation. I have been using this for the last 2 days with this foundation, and I really like the way it looks. This is one pump. See how the color it matches? It's just a little bit off compared to my neck. So this is one layer of the foundation. As you could see, it does give pretty good coverage. It covered a lot of my redness. You can still see my 2 sunspots here, so it didn't cover that up. I still haven't found a foundation that'll cover that up, but other than that, my skin, it looks nice and smooth. It looks like skin, it feels like skin, and it's already dried down. It feels really good. It doesn't feel heavy or cakey at all. It blends really good with the foundation brush. But yeah, it does just one pump on half of my skin, and I think it did a pretty good job at covering all the redness that I do have and making it look like skin but better. And it's nice and matte. I like that it's not heavy. It's not heavy at all. It feels just nice and lightweight and still packing a punch with the coverage. So the consistency of the foundation, it's like a traditional foundation consistency. It's not, there we go, it's not watery, it's not extremely thick, it's just a regular foundation consistency. It doesn't have a smell, which is good for a lot of people. I know a lot of people are very sensitive to scents, and this one, it does not have a scent. I don't smell anything. And let's go in with the other side for the sponge. And I'm using my Eco Tools sponge. You see how it covered up all of that redness right away? I like that it gives you time to work with. It doesn't set right away. You still have plenty of time to blend it in, and it blends in just so seamlessly and so easily. It's not hard to blend at all. So this is the side with the sponge. As you can see, it didn't give as much coverage with the sponge. I can still see a little bit of redness right up in this area here, but other than that, it looked pretty flawless to me. I would still, it looks a little bit dewier on this side as well. If you can see a little bit more dewiness. On this side, it looks way more matte. It is because the sponge is wet when I applied the foundation, so it's gonna give a little bit more of a natural radiant finish with a sponge. But this is the beauty of this foundation. Again, it's very lightweight, very full coverage, and it's very easy to blend. I'm gonna go in with the second layer to see how it lays, if it looks cakey or not. I'm just gonna go in with a full pump for the on both sides of my face. So I did one pump. I'm gonna do a third pump, and I'm just gonna layer it over my cheek area on both sides and see how it lays, and also around the nose, because that's where I get the most redness, and that's where I need the most coverage. Oh, and I'll do a little bit on the chin, just because that's where you can see where it gets cakey for me. It's around the chin, the nose, and around the mouth. Okay, so we're still gonna stick with the same. We're gonna blend it out with the brush on the left side. Wow, it covered my dark spot, guys. It covered my dark spot. I am so impressed. It didn't cover this one, but it covered this one. Wow, that's coverage. Okay, now let's do the sponge. Right off the bat, I don't know if the camera's picking it up. I can see that with the sponge, my pores don't look as big as with the brush. So I can definitely see my pores look a little bit more pronounced and emphasized with the brush. And with the sponge, they're a little bit smaller. I can still see them, but not as much as my brush side. That's something to note. Maybe using a pore minimizing primer would help, but because we are pressing it in with a sponge, I feel that's what's doing the job at covering up the pores. So I'm going to go a little bit over on this side with a sponge, just to see if it'll... Nope. Okay, so that is it. I have my foundation on. Overall, like I said, it still feels flawless, even though I went in with that second layer and it gave me that great coverage over on this side. I still feel like it's a little bit more dewy on this side compared to this side. You can definitely see by the way my nose looks a little bit dewier on this side versus this side, but the foundation, the finish is flawless. It's nice and matte. It has not set down yet. This side did. This side set, this side's not because of what I used a wet sponge, but I don't feel it on. When I move my forehead, when I move my lips, I don't feel it crinkling and cracking, which is a good thing because sometimes on foundations you can feel it and it feels like a mask and it's just uncomfortable, and by halfway through the day you want to take it off. I don't feel like this is one of those foundations. So the next test we're going to do is we're going to apply the concealer to see how it lays on top. For today I'm going to use my MAC Pro Conceal and Correct palette in the shade Medium, and I'm just going to put some right underneath the eyes. This is more of a heavy duty concealer, and I'm going to use my sponge to blend it out. So the concealer blended out pretty good. I do feel like I lost a little bit of coverage where I was so excited about my mark. I don't know, I think it might be just the concealer is a little bit on the thick side, but it's still nice and covered. And now I'm going to set it using my MAC Mineralized Skin Finish in Medium Dark. I feel like I'm using a lot of MAC products today, but it's just what I have in hand. I don't want to go upstairs. I'm too lazy. You don't want to. Okay. So I'm going to use my e.l.f. blush brush to set my under eye. And I do set this foundation. I set all of my foundations unless I want to do like a test where let's see how this will work with no setting. But for the most part, I like to set my foundation always. So I'm going to use the same brush and I'm going to use the same powder to set my foundation. I'm not going for a highlight and contour look today, so I'm just going to use the same color all over my T-zone as always, under my eyes, over my eyes, and my neck. Yeah, this is my neck, guys, and my chin. Okay. So I'm all set. I have set my foundation and it still doesn't feel heavy. It feels very matte. It looks very matte. So if you're not into the matte foundation look, I would not recommend this for you. It is a very matte foundation. Unless you want to use it with a illuminating primer, I would steer clear from it. But if you are into the matte foundations and you like the matte look, or if you have very oily skin and you want something that'll minimize the oils or make your skin look more matte, I totally recommend this. But if you want a dewy foundation, this is not the foundation for you. So I have set my foundation. I'm already good to go. I'm gonna complete the rest of my makeup off camera, and then I'll be right back. All done. I went for a very natural, fresh faced, everyday makeup look. Very glowy. Okay, so this is what it looks like up close. As you can tell, it looks like skin. I do feel like my pores are pretty pronounced, even on the Beauty Blender side. So a good pore filler should do the trick. So I'm going to wear the foundation throughout the rest of the day, and I will come back and check in with you during my lunch and let you know how it has been wearing off, and then I will check back in after work, and then I will check back in at the end of the day. So it's currently 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I've had this foundation on since 9 o'clock in the morning. I had lunch, I had soup, and it was very, very spicy. So you know that there was some fluids coming out of my nose, meaning I had to go in with a paper napkin to wipe all that juiciness away. And this is what the foundation looks like so far. It did come off. The reason why I said that I had to wipe off my nose is because some of the foundation did wipe off right in this area here around the nostrils. As you can see, it is a little tiny bit worn off, especially like around here. But other than that, it still looks flawless. It hasn't oxidized at all. It still looks nice and matte. I haven't powdered down in any areas, and the foundation is still looking really matte and really just perfect, if I do say so myself. It's been 5 hours since I applied this foundation, and it hasn't caked up, not even on my chin, which is where usually my foundation will cake up, or around my nose. But like I said, I did wipe off my nose earlier while I was eating. So far, if we're going back to this foundation, I think it looks pretty good. I'm really excited the way this looks. I will be back later on at the end of the day to let you know my thoughts. Okay, it is currently 7 o'clock. That means I've had the foundation for 10 hours, and it is getting a little bit oily around the forehead and a little bit oily around the nose. It hasn't completely faded away, but as you can see, the oils are seeping through, and it hasn't broken out or broken up around the nose either. It's just getting oily. It is not oily on the chin. Most of the oils are just right here on the nose, but other than that, it still looks pretty flawless. Even in this lighting, which is not the best lighting, you can see that it is working pretty good. I am heading out to the gym, so I wanted to check in before the foundation is just completely a mess. I'm gonna wear it through the gym, and then I will check back at 9 o'clock. Alright, so it is currently 10 o'clock. I'm about to jump in the shower. So as of this time, I've had this foundation on for 13 hours, and it has been holding up pretty well. I did just have a small workout, so it has gotten way more oilier. It's gotten a lot more oily around the forehead and the nose for sure. It has worn off right around the nose area right here, but other than that, it looks pretty good. It's still holding on, and it has not worn off at all. The blush and the contour are still on, as well as the highlight. It's still on, and it has not faded. So if you are looking for a new drugstore foundation that is completely matte and that is affordable for $12, again, you do have, there is that one coupon. If you purchase it at Walgreens, you get $1 off, so you'll be getting it for $11. You can definitely get this foundation. Also, you do have to take note about the color range, and if you find something in your shade, I would definitely recommend this foundation. So that is it, you guys. If you have not subscribed, please go ahead and click this little circle here, and if you have not watched any of my other videos, please go ahead and click here or here. So I'm gonna go take a shower. Have a good night. Bye.